Welcome to Hello Downtown, a podcast by Downtown Sioux Falls.
This is Hello Downtown, the podcast where we explore the people, the places, and the pulse of our city's core. I'm your host, Brandon Hanson, and every episode we dive into the stories shaping life in the heart of Sioux Falls. So whether you're downtown every day or just downtown at heart, let's jump in. I am joined by Galen Van Otterloo, the market president, recently the market president for Dakota Bank, right here in Sioux Falls, and more specifically right here in downtown, really close to Fernson, of course. We love having you guys down here, but you've been banking for over 20 years, been downtown since 2005, it sounds like, specifically. Grown up in leadership roles through both experience and strong commitment to the community. Dakota Bank is obviously the sponsor of this year's Restaurant Week yet again. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Excited to do this.
Yeah, you want
my first time on a podcast.
Oh my gosh,
probably my last time.
You think so? No, the people start calling after you get on Hello Downtown. So.
That'd be great. That would be wonderful. That's
You're open
the feedback from my podcast with you. So yeah,
perfect. Let me know if that happens. Beyond the banking stuff, though, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I grew up in call it a hobby farm outside of the small town of Hospers, Iowa. So if you know where Hospers is, it's kind of between Orange City and Sioux Center and Sheldon, which would be towns people might be familiar with. But I got done with college in 2003, graduated from Dordt University, moved to Sioux Falls. Just the opportunity that the community presented at that time just made sense. I was engaged to get married, and we planted our roots here and love it. So spent some time at another downtown bank before moving to Dakota Bank 10 years ago. It was actually my 10-year anniversary last week. And so
congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So it was a great move to get over to Dakota Bank, small community bank that is growing and lots of opportunity. And looking back, it was the best move I made.
Well, let's talk about Restaurant Week. It's of course, it's designed to highlight local restaurants and chefs through unique menu offerings. This year's event is taking place through April 23rd throughout 17 different downtown locations. So we're up from last year on that front, which is exciting. Dakota Bank, obviously, as an incredibly generous organization, you've got programs like Dakota Bank Cares, Give Where We Live, let alone memberships and sponsorships for our organization and others. The bank has been involved with DTSF's Restaurant Week for a few years now, and I think we got one more to go at least. What originally made you guys say yes to this?
Well, I think it's, we've been downtown as a bank for well over, I think, 25 years from what I know. I think it's the ability to stand out, ability to put our name on something that's downtown is heavily promoted. I would say the next big thing is just supporting the small business in our community. So, this is Restaurant Week, but we all know the impact that it will have on the other businesses downtown as far as some of the shops and other venues and what have you. So just an ability to have our name and kind of stand out and support not only restaurants, but the small businesses that occupy downtown.
Yeah, and Dakota Bank is, of course, an ag and a community-focused bank, but you're also deeply connected to these downtown businesses and restaurants. I think when I was having original talks with Matt Smith, there was this idea that you guys are the bank for a lot of these restaurants.
Yeah, we have several customers downtown, many of which are participating. So that kind of made it a natural fit. Back to your earlier question, there's a natural fit when we have multiple customers doing it. And then the tie to ag producers. You mentioned our strength as an ag bank is, ag producers are putting food on our tables. And so Restaurant Week kind of connects that full circle when you look at the restaurants that we're working with and just the restaurants downtown, and then them working with ag producers to source their food. So,
yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about the bigger picture of Dakota Bank and what you guys specialize in, just the products you offer and where you service?
Yeah, so we have, I believe it's 28 markets that we're in. Predominantly in South Dakota, we do up into North Dakota as well. And then over into Minnesota, we have Morris, Minnesota. And then we have a corporate banking office actually in Minneapolis downtown. So it's a group that joined us about 3 years ago. So we really wouldn't say we have any specialty. We're a typical small Midwestern bank that's really heavy into ag, of course. I mean, that's a big part of who we are, is being an ag bank and serving our agricultural customers. But, we have a full range of products. We work with our consumers. We work with small business to large business owners, whether it's term loans, operating lines of credit, real estate, helping cash management. That's probably been the biggest focus of our bank the last 5 or so odd years, is really understanding and improving how we help our customers move their cash. The traditional methods of writing checks and those things are, ripe for fraud, but also just more cumbersome on the business owner to, write a check, mail it out, those kind of things. And there's, again, opportunities for fraud to creep into those processes. So whether it's ACH, wires, just ways for customers to move money in a more efficient manner, that's been a big focus. And I think it's been well received by our existing customers as well as new customers we continue to talk to.
Yeah. Let's talk about your role a little bit too. New role as market president. I think it's been a couple months now.
Yeah. So I started January 2nd, effectively taking over as market president.
Was the bank closed on the 1st?
Yeah. Thankfully. Yeah. Probably would have been a pretty quiet day in the office, I would assume.
That'd been a nice, easy way to start. I mean, you've been there for a while though, and took over the role that Matt was in, and Matt moved up as well, I believe.
Correct. So when I was hired, Matt had just moved into the market president role, similar to my move, and really was kind of hired to kind of take his desk, so to speak, as lead business banker and kind of run with some of the existing customer base. But obviously the goal is to go out and find more opportunities for the bank to continue to grow as well. So I was just looking the other day, 10 years ago when I started, Dakota Bank was roughly about $2 billion in assets as a company. Sioux Falls, I think we were maybe somewhere just under 200 million in assets. In the last 10 years, our company now will eclipse 5 billion this year in assets, and Sioux Falls as a market's probably going to push somewhere in that 450 to 460 million in assets. So in 10 years, the bank is more than doubled, and Sioux Falls is more than doubled as well. So having a lot of success, having a lot of fun doing it. So
that's pretty exciting. What about leading all that here locally is exciting to you?
We've had great leadership. Dave Bangasser retired, which kind of created the opportunity for Matt to move into that regional president role, and then created the opportunity for me to step in. So I've been learning from them for the past 10 years, and there's been a consistency of which we approach how we do things, and the leadership, how we look at things. We have a saying, if we can bank you today, we can bank you tomorrow. And the idea behind that is just that we're not going to get hot and cold. So we're not in on ag and then out of ag. We're not in on hospitality or hotels and restaurants and then wanting to get out of it. And you see that from time to time in our industry. So I like the consistency. We're building a great team. I like the idea of kind of transitioning to that. Instead of an individual contributor, it's how do I get more out of others? How do I help others have success and find their career path and or just personal professional growth? So that's kind of what's getting me excited to kind of transition from more of an individual contributor type role to this market president role. So
yeah, and I know you and Matt both, and I know that you guys are very close to one another. And yep. I just noticed the culture that exists at Dakota Bank as well. It's there's very honest conversations. There's very the employees are sticking around for a while.
Absolutely.
Can you just speak to the culture at all?
Yeah, I think it's a culture of empowerment. And it's continually evolving as far as as new leaders are stepping in. It's empowering employees to speak up and talk about how we can do better. Like I said, in the last 5 years, we've invested a ton into some resources and things that 10 years prior just wasn't on the radar. But employee voices are heard. We do a lot of employee surveys. Try to hear from our employees. Where might we be missing the mark? I don't think we are, but you need to have that temperature check every so often, whether it's benefits, whether it's perks, just making sure, we want to be the employer of choice. If you're in banking in our region, our hope would be Dakota Bank would be on the list and a place you would consider. There's a lot of great banks in town, a lot of great cultures.
I don't know of any banks here.
Yeah. But there's a lot of great companies and banks in town. And so, it can be hard to stand out, but I think we do in a very positive way with the consistency and now how our leadership is handled things over the years, and then how we've poured into young leaders. I've been poured into as I've been moving up through the bank over the last 10 years. So,
yeah. And Dakota Bank for us isn't just a sponsor. You guys are a member, but you're also a property owner right along Phillips Avenue. You guys have this massive corner building. You have tenants right on Phillips Avenue. So you have front row visibility to everything happening in downtown. I know just before we went live, you were talking about the little kids and everyone else who kind of, puts their face against your window and says hello. How does that proximity shape the way you engage with events like Restaurant Week?
Well, I think it's an easy yes when we get the opportunities to be a part of these events. Burger Battle and some of those, I think it's Porkapalooza.
Pork Showdown. A lot of people call it Porkapalooza though. So we might need to think about a new name.
Maybe I just wanted to say the word. I just wanted to say the word Palooza, perhaps. This sounds good.
More people probably feel that way.
But as when I worked downtown, my office used to face the Minerva's entrance. Now it faces a little different, but it was just incredible in January, to see the number of people downtown, even when the weather was, not great. I was down here a couple of times, when the weather wasn't that great, and people are still flooding downtown to support the Burger Battle, or this with Restaurant Week supporting. And I just think it's neat to see the community as big as we are still rally behind these kind of ideas or opportunities to support, a specific small business segment, the restaurant side of it. But we all know if you come in downtown for the restaurants, you might be stopping at one of our local bars, or, maybe having a cocktail to end your evening. You might be going to shop at Duluth Trading before you go out to eat. Obviously that impact is felt everywhere. You hear a lot of leaders say the rising tide lifts all boats. And I think you see that when you work downtown.
Yeah. You get a front row view to our ambassadors as well. I know you see them changing out the banners and cleaning up the trash. That program specifically is funded by the Business Improvement District in the city. And Matt was actually one of the people who helped get that bid where it is today. He was on our bid board. Oh, so maybe something in your future.
Hey, more than happy to jump in and help. We
have openings right now.
All right. Sign me up.
I'll send you the application. Yes. So Matt Smith, I just want to talk about him for just a second. Yeah. I got another question for you, but let's give him a shout out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So he's in Paris. I believe it would have ran the marathon. It would have been, I think I saw him post Sunday morning, perhaps, at the results. So he finished, which isn't shocking. Him and his wife, Yvonne, are avid runners, have been running, as long as I know him. But I think prior to my time at Dakota Bank, he had started running. And so I forget how many marathons they've now run. It's got to be in the double digits for sure. This would be the first one out of the country, from what I understand. So some of the pictures he's posting on social media, and obviously Paris is an incredible city as far as some of the sights and sounds and some of the food, the pictures. Of course, he's a foodie. So that's probably another reason why we did Restaurant Week, to come to think of it, would just be Matt's affinity for food. I have an affinity as well, but it's too bad he couldn't be on the podcast. He probably would be a better guest than me, to be honest. He's done some stuff with Mark Ovenden and does a pretty nice job, but I'll do the best. I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah. He can come back.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to see him when he does get back, and we're going to go to one of these restaurants. It's the last day of Restaurant Week when he's back.
Oh, so perfect.
Going to make sure he gets to try something.
That's good
for the company. I like that. I'm imagining him running in Paris while eating like a macaroon or something.
Maybe those are what they hand out when you're running to give you more energy.
Yeah, instead of like a glass of water,
it's just macaroons,
treats, and croissants.
And glasses of wine.
It's brilliant. I'm sure that helps carbs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Well, so you and Matt Smith, your regional president of Dakota Bank, of course, were part of our promotional video last year, which I think was kind of a fun experience for everybody involved. But you got to eat the food on camera while a lot of people were staring at you.
Yeah.
Really cool. So for those of you listening, if you haven't checked it out yet, get out there, try something new, support people who make our food scene what it is. Again, it's April 9th through the 23rd. And brought to you by Dakota Bank, of course. It's a chance to explore the best food in the entire region. Galen, before we wrap up, anything that you want to say to someone on the fence about getting involved this week?
Oh, jump in. You were just saying earlier, when I first started downtown, working downtown, I'm going completely off memory, but there just wasn't a lot of options down here. I think for lunches, we mostly left downtown and went to other spots. And I think some of the people that, really in the last 15 years, the expansion of downtown from a restaurant perspective is pretty incredible. And we have a lot of talented people operating these establishments. So get out and try them. I don't think there's anything on that list that you're not going to like. So,
well, thank you. Appreciate the time and the perspective.
Thank you for having me.
You are listening to Hello Downtown, a podcast by Downtown Sioux Falls Incorporated. I'm Brandon Hanson. Well, today on Hello Downtown, I'm joined by Chef Brian Moscatello of Harvester Kitchen and Nunzio's downtown, of course. Incredibly talented chef here with over 30 years of experience, recognition from many places, but one that really stands out to me is the Michelin Guide. Brian, you have built a career in some of the top culinary destinations across the country. And now, of course, you're bringing it to the local food scene right here in Sioux Falls, but in downtown. So Thank you for being here.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I did, spend a lot of time across the country, and we wound up landing here, moving here from DC. This is where my wife is from. So it was time to leave DC. So she got to choose, because I was dragging her across the country for about 2 decades. So then she got to pick where we kind of landed. And I'm grateful we did. This is a kind of an amazing place, and the growth. I mean, I've only been here about 6 years, and the growth is just crazy. Like with the new development Sharapa Place, and we're fortunate enough to meet Jeff, and they liked us enough and trusted us enough to bring us aboard to their campus. So recently, the beginning of this year, actually, we're able to open HK there, which is basically, we just got rid of the Harvester Kitchen moniker because we're no longer in that building, but so shortened to the HK because we didn't want to change that. It had some recognition, and we're able to get a brick and mortar Nunzio's, and then open and partnered with Gordon Oman of Black Fork Farm Spirits. So we have a nice little a bourbon tasting room. So we have a little bit of a trifecta over there where you get a little bit of anything. Super casual, fun, family friendly, wood fired pizza, some fantastic bourbon made right here in South Dakota up in Brant. And then, of course, our namesake HK, which is our, multi-course restaurant, more on the fine dining side of things, that I've been really honing my craft, honing my skills on, throughout the decades.
Yeah, that's incredible. They're all really unique places, and they're just so incredible. We're so excited to have them be part of Restaurant Week. Just to look back on you kind of gallivanting around the country and all of these other places. I know you've cooked everywhere from Napa Valley to Aspen, just blocks away from the White House, probably more recently with the DC location. What excites you most about being part of downtown Sioux Falls Restaurant Week? I
think, it's one of those things where it's really the call out to the community to say, hey, check us out. And being able to be featured in this type of environment and be able to feature, whether it be some local producers, and really start to, create that camaraderie amongst the chefs in the restaurants. The one thing I like about this Restaurant Week compared to all the other Restaurant Weeks I've done is that you allow us to really just kind of do what we do, as opposed to say, no, it has to be a 3-course lunch for $25 or a 3-course dinner for $45 or whatever it is, which is what most of those major cities do for their Restaurant Week. So that to me was, when I heard that, I was like, we can do whatever we want. I'm like, sign me up,
That's interesting. So yeah, you've had the experience with Restaurant Week elsewhere. This is not a downtown Sioux Falls exclusive event. This is a national sort of idea. It's really interesting perspective. Yeah, we really want the chefs down here to shine and show off a little bit.
Yeah. So, so for us, for HK especially, It's a lot of fun. We keep our, like I said, we're a multi-course menu restaurant, so we have a 6-course and we have a 9-course. So we of course featured a 6-course as Spring Has Sprung, which is featuring a lot of, those seasonal ingredients. We have mussels, then we have a nice little, chicken and ramp caramelli pasta. It's fun to do some of those different shapes that you don't see every day. So the caramellis look like little candies that are wrapped, that have the little frilly ends, but it's a stuffed pasta. And then we go into a nice seared diver scallop and finish up with some American Wagyu beef that has some great asparagus and then a little bit of a layered potato. A little scropino, which is from our Italian neighbors, which is a fantastic little pre-dessert, which is basically it's a scoop of lemon sorbet and then a little bit of Prosecco on top. And then we finish it off with a fun little dessert that's a medjool date dessert that features a lot of winter citrus.
Can you explain what that is?
The medjool date?
Yes.
Yeah. So medjool dates are the actual fruit. They're like a dried fruit. And then basically what we do is we take them, we peel them, and we take the seeds out. We roll it really thin so that it almost looks like, carpaccio, which is a flattened meat, So it's great looking like this little marble mosaic. And then it's topped with some creme fraiche and a little bit of Cara oranges, a blood orange fluid gel, a little bit of Meyer lemon fluid gel, salt, olive oil. So we keep that, because the dates tend to be very sweet. We want to add a little savory elements to it with the olive oil and then the fresh lemon juice and the salt and the thyme leaves.
I think if anyone listening to this just has all the reasons they need to come over and try your food.
Yeah.
Just hearing the way you talk about food and how you describe it, I think is incentive enough.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. It's fun. I really, when we approach things at HK and at Nunzio's as well, we really want to focus on, those ingredients, no matter where they're from. Because my philosophy has always been, yes, we want to buy local if we can, if they have it, but it's more important to us to really buy and procure the best ingredients we can to offer to our guests. Because to me, I think that's where it really all starts. It starts with the ingredient and, you just basically take that, handle it gently and then put it with some things that, work well with it. And then go from there. But like I said, it's all about the ingredients and it's fun trying to be able to manipulate and shape these different ingredients into something that may be unexpected. But when you eat it, it's very much that thing.
Yeah. And everything about downtown as a neighborhood, as a district is curated. And that comes through. You belong in downtown for sure. Your restaurants do. Can you dig a little further into your philosophy on food and just farm to table and ingredient sourcing?
Yeah. As far as it goes, like I said, I'm a firm believer in start with the best ingredient you can. We like to buy local when we can, because of our operations. And hopefully now that we have expanded with the brick and mortar Nunzio's and the Black Fork Farms tasting room, we'll be able to do more larger sourcing, because sometimes it gets hard when you're talking about like whole animals or something like that, whole lambs. We worked with the lamb producer for many years over at HK, but it became very difficult to utilize all that product because we were only, 5-night-a-week restaurant. But now that we've added Nunzio's, it gives us more outlets, and Black Fork Farm gives us more outlets to utilize these products. So I'm looking forward to revisiting some of those conversations. We've also started work with one of my key team members who's been with us almost since the beginning. Well, her mother has a farm about an hour from here. And we end of last year, started bringing a lot of her ingredients in, like sunchokes and a lot of flowers and squashes and peppers and things like that. And, so this year we're going to take it one step further. We're working on a kind of a rooftop raised bed garden for a lot of our garnish flowers, a lot of our herbs. And then we'll work on a list of things that they're going to plant and produce for us throughout the summer and then into next winter. So we're really excited for that. And, hopefully we're going to be kicking that off in May, start really getting that up and running. So it starts with that, and it starts with keep it simple. As even though a lot of people may look at our menu, look at our food and say it's anything but simple.
Just thinking that, like, my gosh.
But I think keep it simple for me is very significant, because when I was a lot younger of a chef, I don't know that I was young, but I was a lot younger, when I had a famous critic of, worked for Esquire magazine. He's the gentleman, John Mariani, who produced, or not produced, but he wrote a column, the 10 best restaurants or 10 best new restaurants or things like that. And I was at the Little Nell, and he came in for dinner, and young, I was like, look at this. I could do all these things. I could put all these different flavors, and it works really well, and I went out to talk to him afterwards and, get some feedback from him. And, he simply said, it's like, it was really good. But if you took two of these flavors off the plate, it would have been great. And at first, as a younger person, like, what do you mean? Like, what are you saying?
Yep.
No way. And then as I sat on that for months, and then like, you know what? And I started playing with that dish. Actually, I removed an ingredient, removed different ones. And then I came up with it. I forget what items I took off, but I took a few ingredients off, and then I tasted it. I'm like, it just was clearer. Like, it was a clearer picture. It was, maybe I won't say it was muddy, but it was, flavors were fighting each other a little bit. They worked together, but they were still fighting to take center stage, as opposed to when you remove a few and you focus on that one center stage ingredient and then just background, it became something different, and it became fantastic. And then flash forward a few years, two of my restaurants were on his best restaurants list in Esquire magazine.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So when we get to restaurant week, you've got 2 restaurants participating, 2 different dishes. One of the dishes is 6 courses, but are you tasting these in advance? Or are you tweaking them? How long does it take to come up with?
I think it depends on how tired I am. When I'm tired, it takes a lot longer to come up with the dishes. But I think, talking about our pizza that we're featuring in Nunzio's, that one was pretty quick. I was like, we want to have fun with it, right? We think of like, what is Sioux Falls? We're the Midwest and things like that. And I've done different tasting menus that keyed on Sioux Falls before, like, Rooted in Sioux Falls was one of them I've done, and things like that. So I was like, well, Nunzio's, let's do something, that meat and potatoes, right? So that's where it started. That's the idea. Then I'm like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Like, let's do, whether it's like a roast beef, then they're cube pieces of meat, like little cuts of steak, or, roasted and shaved. Potatoes, I knew right from the get-go we were going to use Pomzana, which is a layered potato that's like potato, butter, salt, and then baked. So it's super unctuous, super rich, super delicious. So I was like, we're definitely going to do those on there. That's the potato element. That, we need some onions that we decided to poach in butter. And then we, I was like, mushrooms, morels right now are the main mushroom in our kitchen, except for I did just get a case of porcinis in today. I'm looking forward to digging into those. So morel mushrooms, and then the steak, we tried it diced, and, I made a couple pies. This is a few weeks ago, a month ago, or whatever it was. And, I was like, I don't know if I like the dice. It's kind of awkward on a pizza, because there's some chew to it still. So, I was like, well, maybe we shave it. So then that's kind of the route we took. We're like a prosciutto pie. When you do a prosciutto pie, you shave it, pizza comes out, then you lay it on top. So this is that format we did. So we wound up doing the layered potatoes, nice little cubes of those that almost dissolve in your mouth. And then some of the butter poached onions and the morel mushrooms. And then that gets baked, and we take it out, and then we put those thin slices of shaved roast beef on top. So it's really a fun pie. I think it came out way better than what was in my head. I was like, wow, this is really good. So that's how that came about. So we did some demo, we did some tasting, we did change a couple of the shapes or whatever. And then we decided at first, we're like, do we call it, Sioux Falls steak and potatoes or whatever? I'm like, no, it's the comfort zone. So it's the comfort zone pie over at Nunzio's.
We've got it up on the screen right behind you, and I'm a little disappointed because, as we're recording, it is noon, and this would have been a great time to eat together.
Man, next time I know, I should have brought a pie. I apologize.
Oh, no. We got to buy it. We're here to support you as an organization. So yeah, well, I'll come over either today or tomorrow and have this thing. So my mouth is watering, which makes it very difficult to ask you more questions. But so I know you kind of mentioned the move, 1 block away to a new facility here. You've expanded your pizza operation with Nunzio's. So how do you bring the same level of craft from a 6-course, 9-course meal at HK to a pizza, which seems so simple?
Yeah, I think we had been playing, like Nunzio's was a bit of our ghost kitchen when we were at our original space. But we were operating out of like my backyard pizza oven that I brought from California, and that was difficult when we get like 10 pies at a time. Very difficult, we'll say. But it was always something we were playing with, practicing, developing, improving. So we kind of had a nice base. But within all of our operations over at in Sharapa now, we take the same philosophy. They're very different, unique spaces, but we still want to deliver great hospitality. We still want to deliver great food product. We still want to deliver a great beverage program, but each one is very unique to its own program identity. Like Nunzio's casual, kids. The kids can run out in the little parklet over, right outside our doors. It's just a fun, boisterous, type of environment. So we feature all of our beverage for the most part on tap. We have beers on tap, wines on tap, cocktails on tap, root beer on tap. Which, by the way, we go through crazy amounts of root beer. And then, from the food element, it's the same philosophy we have over on the HK side, right? It needs to be done right. It's not right. It's not perfect. Let's throw it out. Let's make it right. So that's the approach on the ingredient side of thing. It's still got to be, still has to be nice cubes. They need to be perfect cuts. Like it doesn't matter, no, that sausage, you need to, we cook it until flats and then we're able to dice perfect little squares. It's like, so it's the same philosophy and technique that we have in HK, but it's put together in a much quicker, much more casual type of space. So we still want it to be right, still want it to be great. We use a lot of the product we use in HK, we use over in Nunzio's, which has been the best part about it, So like we get AAA Dutch white asparagus, a very luxury, very high end, very expensive ingredient that we feature on our menus in HK. But then on top of that, when you get them, you trim off a lot, you wind up with a lot of scrap, and the price you're paying, you're like, it's like, you don't want to throw that out. Like, so when we were in HK before, it was hard to use because you couldn't have the same ingredient on a bunch of different plates. But now here we created a pie. We did our spring veggie collection, because now I don't know what's gotten into me, but now I want to refer to all of our pizza section as like collections. I'm, honing my inner fashion designer. So it's our couture line of spring vegetable pies that we feature, that sliced white asparagus. So like the piece of the beautiful tip is going on a plate in HK, but the same quality that's a little bit 2 inches trimmed off the bottom of that is getting sliced and put on a pizza with truffle vinaigrette and then some fresh shaved truffles. Right. So it's the same philosophy. We still want to do great things, still want to do fun things, have some of that luxurious items, but we're able to do that and offer that because of HK in both scenarios. So they both help each other out, which is really nice.
Yeah. The way you speak about it, again, it's just like an art, but there's also the science behind it of like menu engineering is what I hear as you're talking about that. And it's incredible, the intentionality going into every last decision.
Yeah. No, thank you. That's good. That's what we actually say when we bring people aboard. It's like everything we do has to have intent. There's purpose in everything. There's a reason behind it. There's the why. There's, what is it? We're always thinking about the guest that's coming in that's going to enjoy these items. And how do we do that? How do we offer them something different and something unique? But to me, restaurants, that's community. Restaurants build community to me, it's a gathering place. It's celebration place. It's just all these things where you go to feel connected.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Chef Brian, thank you so much for sharing your story and for kind of highlighting your dishes. Thanks for participating in our events, and thanks for being downtown.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Excellent.
This is Hello Downtown.